Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So Joe Douglas just wrapped up his trade deadline press conference, and unfortunately the Jets didn't stream it or, air it on their website or on YouTube or anything like that. So all we really have to go off of is reporters' tweets. But with that said, in this one, I wanted to break it down. Obviously today was super crazy and chaotic and exciting too. Saw a bunch of different names get traded like Claypool and Hawkinson. I mean, there were so many trades that went down today, but the New York Jets really only pulled off one, and that was trading away Jacob Martin, pass rusher, to the Denver Broncos, along with a future 5th round pick in exchange for a future 4th round pick. And Joe Douglas addressed that first and foremost. He said that they got good value because of the depth on the defensive line, and on one hand, I agree. This defensive line has been on an absolute tear this season. Quinnen Williams having the best season of his career, Carl Lawson making noise on the outside, Vinny Curry coming back. There's just so much praise to go that needs to be said when talking about this Jets defensive line. Also, Jermaine Johnson coming back from his injury. One of, if not the strongest group on the entire Jets, on this entire Jets team, look, offensively and defensively, and let's just throw special teams in there as well. The defensive line has got to be one of the top, if not the top unit on the squad. I would probably say corner is right there with it, but the defensive line is no joke. But with that said, we've heard Saleh, we've heard Ulbrich talk so much in the offseason, this season, about rotation and, snap counts and playing time for different guys, and always making sure that everybody's playing at 110% at all times. The goal here is to be that relentless pass rushing team. You have to be tenacious on the defensive line. You can't do that if guys are winded and guys are gassed. And, in the big parts of the game, the fourth quarter, in that 2-minute drive, if guys have been, on the field for, an insane amount of time, chances of them being as explosive as they were in the first quarter is probably pretty slim, right? So that's the idea here. Always cycling in new guys, wearing down the offensive line throughout the course of the game, which I get. I know it's not for everybody, but this is what the Jets want to do. This is how they want to approach the defensive line. And, we also look at the injuries. This is something that I personally don't feel comfortable with moving forward. I don't want to look at this defensive line and say, oh yeah, everybody here is 1000% going to be healthy from here on out. So when we look at the rotation, when we look at how much value is put into the defensive line rotation, when we look at the injuries that this team has sustained, over the past couple of seasons now, and also the fact that Joe Douglas brought Jacob Martin in on a multi-year 3-year deal, this offseason. Yes, we are saving some cap space, but, I think in a perfect world, I probably would have hung on to Martin. This is a futures pick that we're talking about here, a future middle round pick, and we also traded away a future middle round pick. So in my opinion, I could see how it's good value, but on the other hand, I could see, maybe it coming back to, look, if Jermaine Johnson has a setback, if Carl Lawson gets hurt, it would have been nice to have Jacob Martin on the roster still. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. Next up, he addressed the Elijah Moore situation, and the Jets actually received multiple trade calls regarding Moore, but the Jets didn't want to trade him, so obviously nothing happened. Joe Douglas backed him and said that they loved him, and he's a part of the team, and that he was always going to be a New York Jet. Always. That they stood on the table, they drafted him, and I can understand Douglas's perspective. He's 22 years old, still on his rookie deal, hasn't even been in the NFL for 2 years. He's a guy with an extremely high ceiling. He fits the offense. We've seen what Moore can do when he gets targets, right? When the ball's thrown his way. And, he's making plays like that. That could really help out offenses. I could understand why Douglas would not want to trade a guy like this, but here's where I'm confused. The Jets sit him in the Broncos game because they didn't want to play him in his mental state. He then goes on to practice over the next 3 days by himself, and so he comes back to practice, and this wasn't any sort of punishment or anything like that, according to Saleh, but he suits up, he's active for the Patriots game, a team that plays a lot of man defense, and knowing that Corey Davis did not play, he was out because of an injury, Moore hardly got in the game. And it's like Moore is like he's like the kryptonite for a man-based team, a heavy man team on defense. You want a guy in there that can separate from corners. You want a guy in there that has the ability to snap off good routes to get open for your quarterback. Again, Corey Davis did not play. It literally made no sense why he was active in the first place if the plan was to not even involve him in the game. That literally benefits nobody. In fact, the only unit that it actually benefits is the New England Patriots defense. Zach Wilson could have really used more. Worst game of the season from Zach Wilson. Multiple INTs. Again, Corey Davis was out. It makes Mike LaFleur's job harder, in my opinion, to have a talented guy like that on the sidelines. Obviously, it's not going to sit well with Elijah Moore. So if Douglas and this Jets team don't want to trade Elijah Moore, and they aren't going to be trading Elijah Moore, then let's actually play him, because it doesn't do anybody any favors at all to keep him and just not play him or not involve him. So, and by the way, Mike LaFleur said after the game that the reason why Moore wasn't in there longer, wasn't really a big part of the offense, was he wanted to get Garrett Wilson involved more. But I mean, it's not a position like quarterback where there's one guy on the field. I feel like Moore could have been used a little bit more. And again, Saleh said it wasn't any sort of punishment. But going back to the JD presser here, it seems like he's really, really backed. I mean, he's Team Elijah, and he wants what's best for him. So we'll monitor the situation over the next couple of weeks and see if Elijah's involved more, see if he's thrown the football more, and move forward from there. Next up, he actually went on and backed Zach Wilson, saying that he was the quarterback. He's 4-1. He talked about the Steelers comeback, and basically in the Patriots game, Zach, yeah, he made some poor decisions, had some bad throws, but he also made some good ones as well. At the end of the day, I felt like that was the obvious answer here. I mean, what is the general manager going to go out and do? Like throw him under the bus or say we need to see more from him? I just feel like it's not the time or place to say that coming from the GM. All you can really do is support your young guy. And also, Joe Douglas and Zach Wilson are tied. They are linked now. Joe Douglas passed on Mac Jones, on Trey Lance, on Justin Fields, all these quarterbacks to select Zach Wilson second overall. This is his guy. Okay, it's not like Fields and Matt Eberflus, where it's a brand new regime coming in the building. They don't have any sort of allegiance to Justin. Obviously, they want what's best for him as a player. But, if the Bears, let's say Fields regresses from here on out, and the Bears want to make a move in the draft or in free agency or something like that this offseason, it's not going to be insane or out of left field. But when we're talking about the Jets and Zach Wilson, Joe Douglas is directly tied to him. So I think JD gave a smart, responsible answer here. I mean, just go back the young quarterback. He probably needs to hear somebody say that. Saleh had a really good answer. CJ Uzomah had a really good answer. I believe a couple days ago. It could have been after the game, but it really seems like the guys have just been super supportive in their responses to the media, which is all you could really ask for at this point. He also said that he's optimistic Mekhi Becton will be back in time for OTAs, but Breece Hall and AVT have still not had their surgeries yet. And I think this whole tackle position right now with, George Fant and Max Mitchell hurt but on their way back, Dwayne Brown signing that 2-year deal, and also having guys like, Cedric Ogbuehi and Mike Remmers on the roster. It's not the end of the world when it comes to like the tackle position right at this given moment, but just, projecting to next season when we're looking at the tackle spot. Obviously, Becton's under contract, Max Mitchell, Dwayne Brown. Fant isn't. And we still have to factor in free agency, maybe a potential trade, or even a draft pick, right? A first-round draft pick on an offensive lineman. I do think that makes a lot of sense for this Jets team right now. And then also factoring in AVT coming back. So if the Jets want to, keep him at the tackle position, or maybe move him back inside to guard, we'll see what happens there. But all in all, I think based off of contracts, just literal guys' names on paper, the Jets are going to be okay moving forward in the future because there's so many guys here. And again, there's opportunities to replace or upgrade at specific positions on the O-line as well in the offseason. And last but not least, when the topic came up of success, right, what's the Jets' formula for success moving forward, JD said, when we take care of the ball and with our defense and special teams, we're going to be a tough team to beat. I think that's obvious, right? That's really what we saw against Miami. That's what we saw against Green Bay and Denver. You know, this team doesn't need Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes or, you know, an Aaron Rodgers at the quarterback position to win football games. It's clear. This is a playoff caliber defense. There are weapons on this offense. I think it really comes down to controlling the game and not shooting yourself in the foot. This has been an ongoing issue with this Jets, or with this Saleh-led regime. Penalties, not converting on third down, turnovers, and part of that, you know, it's not all directly tied to Saleh. It's not all on LaFleur. It's not all on Zach Wilson. Football's a collective game, right? It's a team game here. Everybody has to take some sort of the blame. But what are the facts? The facts are the Jets possess a ton of really, really good players. The Jets can win football games. We've seen 5 wins this season. That's more than all of last season combined. Zach Wilson was the 2nd overall pick. He has a lot of likable traits, but it's up to him to lead this offense. It's up to him to make smart decisions with the football and to prove to people, to prove to fans, teammates, guys around the league, his coaches, the front office, that he is worthy of being that 2nd overall pick. Okay, so I'll leave it there. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section about the trade deadline, craziest moves and stuff like that. I would say for me, the one that I just did not see coming at all was the Calvin Ridley trade to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Absolutely insane. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. And as always, go Jets.